welcome everybody to this preview episode of the At the Pylon podcast. Alongside Chandler Betts, my name is Nick Antonakis. Chandler, how you doing on this very busy afternoon on this Thursday?
Oh, my Lord, I am so tired, but I am so energetic to be here talking about this horrible team. I'm so excited.
Considering all the stuff we have going on right now, we still always seem to find the time twice every week to talk about this terrible team that is presented to us on a weekly basis.
Oh,
But
yeah.
surprisingly, Patriots are back facing Buffalo this week. It's Bills week, everybody. Patriots enter the matchup 1-5. Things don't exactly look good, but there is a lot going on outside of the game itself that we're going to preview on both the Patriots side and the Bills side of things before we kind of dive into some predictions. But let's start off, Chandler, with talking about the Patriots. Their injury report came out yesterday. It usually comes out after the Wednesday practice, and it's a deep one. There is a lot of players on this report. I'll just read it off for our viewers, and then we can kind of talk about how much of an impact the Patriots' injuries are possibly having on their struggles. So, first off, on the did not participate list, we have Trent Brown with a chest injury, Hunter Henry with an ankle injury. He's making a new appearance on the IR. Jonathan Jones was out with an ankle. Riley Reef, knee. Josh Uche, knee. Keon White, concussion. And then the limited participation list goes on and on and on. We had David Andrews with an ankle, Christian Barmore with a knee, Cody Davis with a knee, Demario Douglas, concussion, Kyle Duggar, foot, Trey Flowers, foot, David Gottschalk, ankle, Jack Jones, hamstring, Michael Wenu, ankle, Jabril Peppers, knee, Juju Smith-Schuster, concussion, Ramondre Stevenson, ankle, Cole Strange, knee, Sean Wade, shoulder. Wow.
That's the whole team. Yeah, that's crazy.
Basically the whole
Yeah.
team.
Okay, cool.
Going against the Bills this week, Chandler, no easy opponent, although we'll kind of talk about their recent struggles in a little bit. How much of an impact is having all these players out going to have on the Patriots? Will it even have an impact because we're going to lose anyway?
I mean, it has to have an impact. It's a big thing for the connection and the communication between players that they get live reps with each other. When you are getting banged up and you're not able to run those during practice, it's going to cause a lot of issues. When you're forced to participate in walkthroughs when everyone else is in pads, that's going to be a big issue. There's only so much you can do when you're coming into the season as a cornerback 5 and you're being asked to guard Stephon Diggs. That's not going to be fun. My fantasy team is going to enjoy it because I have Stephon Diggs, and I will not be benching him this week. Yeah, it's going to be a big difference. And the nature of it, if this were to happen to any team, it would be a big difference, but especially us because of our lack of depth.
Now, Chandler, a key point that came out of last week that we didn't really talk about much was right before the game against the Raiders last weekend, Malik Cunningham came off the practice squad, not only being elevated to the 53-man roster, but signed to a 3-year entry-level deal. Now, this showed great signs in terms of what you and I were seeing outside of the game, obviously outside of the podcast. We were excited to see this guy come in. I liked him a lot in the preseason. Yeah. I was hoping that he was going to get that number 2 spot. Sadly, it went to Zappe originally, but it seemed like he was getting thrusted into that position. We even saw him take a couple snaps at quarterback against the Raiders and shift in as a wide receiver some other times. But an interesting story coming out of press conferences this morning was Bill O'Brien saying that Malik Cunningham, his quarterback plans will be, quote, week to week, and he's not even locked in as our quarterback 2. Now, I saw this as soon as right before we started recording, and to me, it's very disappointing that we would even consider having a guy like Zappe, who doesn't really have any potential beneath him, and a guy like Cunningham, who's really the only, potential piece on this offense, possibly having to take a back seat again. What do you expect from Cunningham this week? And do you actually think he's going to shift back into a practice squad role?
I will say I was surprised, not that I disagreed with it, but I was surprised when he was given the quarterback 2 position, immediately getting elevated from the practice squad, and immediately getting elevated and getting a 3-year contract. That's a big deal. That's something that's notable. So there's clearly some kind of plan for him. but I'm not sure what that's going to look like. There's a saying in football and really in every sport, but I know that in football, potential gets you fired. So not that, well, actually, that's crazy. We can't say that anymore. I guess our coaches are on the hot seat right now, and I think that they have to think that Zappy gives you a better chance of winning just because he's a known commodity. I'm not saying that that's the case. Might we run the triple option like that Bills game in the snow and the crazy winds with Malik Cunningham and just look like Army or Navy or Air Force? That'd be pretty electric. And by electric, I mean painful to watch, but it would be really funny. So I personally, because I hate myself, I would love to see that. Um, but I don't think that that will end up happening. I think he will be a gadget player until he proves that he can be otherwise. And this coming out tells me that he's not doing that in practice right now.
Well, yeah, that's a good point to make. I guess we don't get the direct access to how he's doing in practice, but I personally couldn't expect that he's doing much worse than Zappy, as we've seen
Probably not. Yeah.
a carousel of quarterbacks. I mean, Will Greer has been getting some flashes of, oh, he might start this week, but
Imagine.
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Cunningham in there personally because at least the guy's young and honestly, as sad as this is to say, but like Cunningham brings me back to like the 2020 days. Like
Yeah.
putting in a rushing quarterback who has a variety. I mean, not that Cam Newton was any good. Uh,
Seven
I
wins.
think it could benefited us at this point. And as much of a Mac Jones supporter as I am, this season is definitely a wash. So any opportunity that we have to like see a flash of the future or maybe a flash of potential that could save our squad in the coming years, go for it. But
Yeah.
as I said, this season's a wash, Chandler. There's not really else to talk about besides the fact that the Patriots have played bad week after week. We'll get into the Bills in a second, but a lot of trade rumors are circling around the Patriots right now. Obviously, the trade deadline is 2 weeks away. They have the Bills and then the Dolphins, as we said on our post-game episode against the Raiders. They could very much be 1-7 by the end of those two games. And then you're presented with the trade deadline. Now, a name that's been floating around early, per the Athletic, that has the potential of being traded is star pass rusher Josh Uche. Now, the proposed offer was supposedly Josh Uche to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a conditional 2024 second round pick. I
No,
guess,
hammer, take it.
yeah,
Take it.
literally, I was
Go
going to
quickly.
say, like, will you do it? But I mean, it's pretty obvious I would do it too.
So Uche's an excellent player, of course. We know this. That's why people want him. People don't want bad players, hence why we're only going to talk about two people getting traded because we don't have any good players. Nobody wants our players. I keep seeing all of the, this is the time where teams realize they stink, and it's like, who's going to get traded? And it's like Bleacher Report or the 33rd team or someone puts out top 9 trade candidates. None of them are Patriots players because nobody wants our players because they stink. And they're showing that they stink they don't stink, they're in the NFL. But relative to the NFL, they stink right now. So nobody's going to want them. Uche, however, is an exception. I'm fairly certain, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is also a contract year for him.
It is. Yep. It's his last
So,
year.
so that if we can get a second for somebody who has an expiring contract, hammer that. A conditional, of course, would probably be on snaps played, maybe some kind of production modifier. But I would absolutely take it. And this, even if you get a third for him, I'm cool with a third for Uche. Same thing with our next person. If we can get anything, even early day 3 pick.
And another point to add, Chandler, like you said, it's a contract year for Uche. And a key aspect as to why he might be traded is because there have been absolutely no contract talks
Yeah.
between him and the Patriots. So we're all hoping everybody here in New England has their fingers crossed. I mean, I love Josh Uche. Last year, the guy really shined and shined through that potential of what I was waiting for him to have since we drafted him in 2020. He played outstanding. But
Mhm.
when I first saw this report, I was very much on the boat like, oh, like, I don't want to trade Uche. Like, he's good. But it's just the new era of we gotta let him go. Like it's a rebuild. And as
No.
painful as it is to do, it's probably for the best. We drafted the guy in the second round. If we could get a second round pick for him again from the Jaguars,
Yeah.
I'm
After some
taking that
good
in an
production.
instant.
Yeah.
And when you consider Belichick as a general manager. Who knows if he's going to be in this position come season's end, but I doubt he's going to be signing this dude to a big money deal to keep him in New England. So might as well get something for him while we can.
Yep.
Now, yeah, the other trade, I guess, piece that might be moved on New England's is Kendrick Bourne. He's had plenty of trade rumors surrounding him all the way since the beginning of last year when Matt Patricia kind of ousted him from the offense. This year is a little bit different in the sense that there haven't been as many rumors, but reporters were asking Bourne about the potential move, and he basically just said the simple answer of, I'm ready for anything. So that doesn't really mean that he's currently being shopped, but at the same time, the guy doesn't have enough security in the back of his mind to say, like, all right, I'm going to be here in New England. So
yeah,
obviously, with him being a pretty vital wide receiver threat, even in the Patriots' lackluster offense, he still seems to make some dynamic plays every so often. What do you think the Pats could pull for him?
If we look at like what people are getting traded for right now, it's definitely a day 3 pick. A fifth, I'd be pretty comfortable with the fifth. Maybe if we could get, he has actually maybe a conditional fourth becoming a fifth because he has 3 years left. 3 years left of his contract.
I want to say 1 or 2. I'm gonna look this up right now
You look
because
it up, actually. Please do. Yeah.
I remember we signed him to a 2-year contract originally
Yeah. And then
in
nobody tops it
in
off. Yeah.
2021. I don't know if we'd
Yeah.
extended that at all.
I believe we
No, it's
did.
a 3-year contract. So he has
Yeah.
1 year after this year.
Okay, so 2. Okay. But yeah, that's the team that gets him has control of him for 18 months. That is worth something, especially because he's been good as a depth receiver in San Francisco when he was wide receiver 3 there roughly, and he's been productive, fairly productive with a very questionable offense in his time here. So there should be value there, and where there's value, there is trade. Get him out, please. I love you, KB. Goodbye, sayonara.
And I mean, I am I crazy to think that a fourth, like, I would take a fourth, don't get me wrong, but maybe if we start to set into like 3rd round territory to a team that's desperate, that I mean would be more risky for other teams. But considering Belichick, again, we don't really know who's going to be in charge of these decisions come trade deadline. Right now, there's a lot of rumors circulating whether or not Belichick's going to even have the authority to make these moves or if Kraft is going to appoint somebody else to sell us out. But if Belichick is the one in charge, a third might prompt him to bite a little bit more. But regardless, I mean, if I'm the general manager, I'm taking a fourth today, right now. So, yeah. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about the trade deadline as we draw closer. It's 2 weeks out. The week of, we'll be doing a huge episode surrounding the trade deadline. But for now, let's draw our focus even deeper into the future. Chandler, we introduce this segment introducing a draft prospect every Thursday. Every Thursday, Chandler's going to bring to us a draft prospect that the Patriots, whether or not they should draft him is up to Chandler. But Chandler, who's your rookie this week, or your potential rookie, I guess, who we will be focusing on for this week's Patriots look into the future?
Well, if it were up to me, who the Patriots are drafting, we wouldn't be so bad right now. So let's start us off there. But my player for this week, the first one, I told you guys how good that Washington Oregon game was going to be. I did not disappoint. Neither did they. The quarterbacks in that game, Bo Nix, really talented quarterback. But the one I'm going to cover right now, Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. is a really polarizing player in the draft community right now. He is going to be 24 years old by the time he's drafted, which isn't uncommon, but it is a big deal as you're going to see Drake May and Caleb Williams, who are both really highly touted prospects that are going to be 21 when they get drafted. So that's a big difference, similar to a Zach Wilson and a Trey Lance versus a Mac Jones. That's a big difference, something that we've seen be a big difference even. This is his second school, actually. He's at Washington right now, but he was at Indiana before. Indiana, not a very good football school, but when he was there in their COVID season 2020, He got them up to 7th ranked in the whole country. That was a big deal. They were
Wow.
very impressive that year. They finished in the top 15, and he was slinging the ball. The next year, very not good. Got hurt, got benched, transferred to Washington to meet up with his old offensive coordinator from when he was playing very well. And then since he's got there, he's been excellent. Last year, he had 31 touchdowns and 8 interceptions for 4,600 yards in 13 games. And this year, 6 games so far, 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 2,300 yards, and he's currently the Heisman frontrunner. So it's
Wow.
something to factor in. Physically, he's pretty big. He's 6'3", 216, and he's a redshirt senior, of course. He's a 5th-year starter, actually.
Wow.
What's interesting about his 5 years starting, only one of them has been fully healthy, and it was last year. His injury history, he has 2 torn ACLs, 2018 and 2020, and he's torn both of his shoulders, both his throwing and his non-throwing shoulder.
Oh
So
my God.
it's very interesting. He's very polarizing. He's a bit of a glass man. So much so that he used to be an adequately mobile quarterback, but now I just don't know. He hasn't strayed much from the pocket, but there's a factor of that. His offensive line is incredible. He is one of the least pressured quarterbacks in the league in NCAA right now. And when he's under pressure, he hasn't been very effective either. In the first half of the Oregon game, he was pressured only 4 times, but he was 0 for 4 in those plays, in those throws. His offense in general has the second best wide receiver core in the country behind Ohio State. But Ohio State's quarterback, Kyle McCord, there's a reason we're not talking about him. He's not very good. You need to be a good quarterback to make that wide receiver core work. Rome Odunze, who I'm sure I will talk about, is a highlight reel of a player. He's electric. He is every 50-50 is not a 50-50. It's an 80-20 for that guy. So he does make, he along with Jalen McMillan and Jalen Polk, all make Penix look very good. But Penix makes Penix look very good as well. Very interesting thing that we were talking about before that I showed you. At home, maybe pause this right here and then go look up, just watch him throw the ball and tell me what you think.
Literally,
Because,
Chandler
yeah.
Chandler told me literally 30 seconds. The first throw that he had, I was like, whoa, that is a weird throwing motion.
So
And
how
Chandler,
he,
tell me about
yeah.
his mechanics that everybody thinks.
So he's a lefty. So he's getting a lot of sloppy comparisons with Tua, which is fascinating.
Oh God.
They are both extremely accurate quarterbacks. So there is a factor of truth there. I'll get to player comparisons a little bit later. But what he does, I'll do it as a lefty. I'm an athlete. I'll do it as a lefty. So he has it. He has it here. Normal quarterback will get it here, high, keep it here, and then here and finish down. What he does, he brings it like this, and then throws it like
Yeah, it's like a
outside of the
side
body.
sling. Yeah, it's
It's
weird.
interesting, and I feel as though it was a big factor in how he had 3 tipped balls by the offensive line again in the Oregon game. This was a big deal.
Wow.
And this Oregon defense is very strong. They were only allowing, I believe, less than 13 points a game going into the game. But it's interesting that nobody is talking about his mechanics. Before this season, everyone said that he has questionable, inconsistent mechanics. And I agree with that. And they have gotten slightly better. So there is a progress trend here, but they're still super questionable to the point of I don't know if you can throw the ball like that and also not have a super plus arm. He's as an extremely accurate arm, but it's not the most powerful arm you're going to see. It's not a Patrick Mahomes. It's not a Josh Allen. It's not, you don't see like the real zip coming off the ball. He's throwing it with his whole shoulder, and not that's necessarily an issue. Quarterbacks can do that. Joe Burrow doesn't have a super plus arm. He has a great arm, but not a super plus arm. You can get away with not having an elite arm. But when you have that and throwing mechanic issues and mobility and pocket presence issues, I'm not sure how much that makes you a first round quarterback, in my opinion. But experts in the league right now, Jordan Schultz, somebody who I trust very much so, one of the most preeminent draft scouts, says that he's getting a lot of top 15 buzz. He even says that he likes the throwing motion. I don't know. I mean, he clearly has watched a lot more football than me, but I just feel uncomfortable seeing that. It feels as though he's going to blow out his entire shoulder. and because he's already
Yeah.
done it. He's already done it before. I don't know if that was because of throwing or because of a hit, but there
Where
is.
would you see him landing in the draft theoretically? What
So he's getting a lot of top 15 buzz. I've seen him all the way up to pick 7.
That's
That's just
crazy.
it's just because of quarterbacks being needed. We
Mm.
see this happen every year. Personally, I would feel comfortable drafting him around where Will Levis was drafted last year, a very early second round pick. Um, Kind of like where Brett Favre was drafted at the beginning of the second round. We see that pretty often. A quarterback being drafted just outside because the team is bad, but not bad enough where the quarterback themselves aren't good enough to get drafted at the very top.
What about your pro comparison? Who would you compare him to?
So
I've been waiting for this.
yes, so he has elite touch. He's very smart. That's another thing. He's as a 5-year starter, he's started with both very talented players and very not talented players. He's seen both ends of the spectrum. He's been the huge underdog and the huge favorite. He has a lot of confidence. There's a really interesting video of him during the Oregon game freestyling on the sideline, and right before he went and led his team down for the game-winning drive.
Oh
And then
god.
one of his wide receivers was asked, "What was he freestyling about?" He was literally freestyling about how they were going to win the game. That is dog mentality. That guy is a weapon. He also has huge hands. That's something that we always see come to the top of the draft idea. Small hands is bad, I guess. Kenny Pickett. You're more
Oh
likely to
god.
fumble the ball. The comparison that I'm seeing everywhere, and everybody says this, and I agree with it, but I like to have my own as well. So the one that everyone says is Teddy Bridgewater, because Teddy Bridgewater is a quarterback who is not especially mobile. He has an accurate arm. He's very smart, but he's never one of those top 20 starters. He was good for a little bit, but the league sort of passed him by in a way,
Yeah.
and
That's a good
he had
comparison.
he had a lot of injuries. That's a really good comparison, but I like to have my own. So his absolute ceiling, and I know I already referenced him, his ceiling is Tua because he does have beautiful touch on his ball. He is super accurate. He has a nice deep ball for somebody who doesn't have an especially strong arm. His placement's incredible. He's very smart. And like I keep saying, accurate, accurate, accurate. That's Tua's big thing. And that's also Penix's big thing. But my actual comparison, and this is definitely going to have a much more negative connotation than it did coming out of the draft. It's Mac
Uh-oh.
Jones, actually. I think
Oh.
that there's a lot, and that's why I didn't want to tell you before the episode. I think there's a lot in common between the two. Mac Jones didn't have a plus arm. I think that Penix is less mobile than Mac was, but there's also the aspect of they both had incredible offenses around them. They're both very accurate. They're both seen as very smart, which I still believe to be true. They both have
Man.
excellent production. Both Heisman candidates. I think that Penix might actually finish the job this year, unlike Mac.
Rip.
Top 15 was when I saw 15, I was like, huh, you picked Mac Jones 15. What's he like compared to Mac Jones? And I was like, oh, he's a lot like Mac Jones, actually. I think that this is going to change a lot. I've only watched 3 games of his thus far. I've watched his whole career as it was happening, but I've only delved into the tape for 3 games. So throughout the course of the year, mostly in the off season, I will watch every single throw of all the top quarterbacks. So this is a running comparison, but right now, I think it's Mac Jones.
That's actually an interesting comparison, Chandler, because the moment when I was watching the film before the episode and you said, "Oh yeah, he's a red shirt, he's going to be 24 by the time he's drafted," I was like,
Yep.
"Huh." Like that's
It's
kind of a
another
red
thing. Yeah.
flag, but then I was like,
We did
Mac
that.
Jones was also 24 when he was drafted.
Yep.
Now, the injury concerns is something that I wasn't aware of. Obviously, before the episode, I kind of compared him to Baker Mayfield. I
Mm-hmm.
thought they had a similar stance, and obviously, I only watched like 5 minutes of film. So,
Sure.
Baker Mayfield, similar stance, similar like style of offense around him,
Mm-hmm.
similar pocket presence,
Yeah. Penix does have a
except
very pro offense.
the lack of mobility is something that I didn't consider. And the second you said the guy had 2 ACL tears and ripped both shoulders,
Yeah.
that's where I'm hands off. I'm done. I'm not touching this guy until at least like if he goes in the first. I mean, kudos to whoever takes him, but
Somebody might. He has an excellent arm and he has a lot of buzz around him right now. I don't
that's
think Personally, I don't think he's a first round quarterback right now. Um, if he can show me more in the rest of the season, I'm more than willing to be wrong. There's so much time until the draft. This is all fluid, of course, but right now I just don't see what all these people getting top 15 buzz are seeing, I suppose.
And with that, I guess we'll kind of draw our focus back to the Bills. Thank you, Chandler, for that
Of course.
rookie contribution, and we'll see you back next week for that.
Yeah, I'll announce next week's person at the next episode.
Yes, perfect. Now, focusing on the Bills, as we said, obviously a juggernaut in the AFC East. They have been for the past couple of years. They've kind of taken the Pats' spot as the dominant team in the AFC East. Now, this year has been a little bit different with the resurgence of the Dolphins, who currently sit in first place in the AFC East. But the Bills, who have started off their season pretty competitively, it looks like they were really heating up about midway through their season thus far. They beat the Raiders week 3 by a score of 38-10. Then they beat the Commanders the week after 37-3. They dominate the Dolphins 48-20. But ever since they went to the UK to face off against the Jaguars, it seems like their step has been a little bit off. They obviously lose to the Jaguars there in London 25-20. And then narrowly beating the Tyrod Taylor-led Giants by a score of 14-9 last Sunday Night Football. So on paper, if the Patriots were, a decent football team that we kind of expected them to be, I'd say, maybe this is the chance for us to get an upset because the Bills seem off their step right now. And we've proven to be able to hold up with them in the past. We saw last year, the last game of the season, some of our Patriots players, including Devontae Parker, who we've given so much flack, had their best games as Patriots. But considering our current circumstance, I don't think we have a chance, a 1% chance even of getting this one done.
Yeah, probably not. Not much to be said there. I don't think that we have the talent. I do think that it's interesting how Josh Allen was comfortably the MVP favorite only 2 weeks ago, and now he's seemingly fallen off a little bit. Stephon Diggs is still excellent. He's still getting, he's averaging over 100 yards a game. Very talented receiver, and the offense still absolutely runs through him. They've been seemingly a little sloppy though, and historically, if there's a coach to take advantage of that, it's ours. But I don't know if we have the playmakers on defense or the playmakers on offense or playmakers, period, or players, period, to do it. There's not a lot going for us here. And we have to take our best advantage of all their weaknesses. However, you know what their weakness isn't? Their defense. They aren't scoring a lot of points, and they're still winning games. They did lose to the Bills, to the Jaguars, excuse me.
Yeah.
But they have an excellent, incredibly deep, maybe the deepest pass rush in football. And they just got Von Miller
Not gonna
back
be
too.
fun for us at all.
Which brings me to an interesting point actually. Historically, we've seen Michael Onwenu play all across the line.
No.
What do we think? What do we think about him playing right tackle and getting Verdarian Lowe and exiling him to some war-torn country?
Well, I mean, I do it, but I mean, who even knows if Owenu's going to be able to suit up on Sunday? Our offensive line is so banged up right now.
He was limited practice, right?
Yeah, limited with an ankle. But last week he barely played at all because we couldn't even put him in. The guy wasn't healthy enough. We just started him for basically like, oh, God forbid the world collapses, we can put Mike Onwenu in at 50%. But
yeah, I'd rather you start at right tackle than Verdarian Lowe right now.
Yeah, give me a 50% Mike Onwenu any day over Verdarian Lowe. I'm done with that guy.
Yeah.
But regardless, the Bills on paper, like you said, their defense is still very solid. That pass rush is going to be terrifying. But as we consider these things, why don't we dive into our 3 keys, Chandler? I guess I can start because just in case, God forbid, to give you a grace period here.
Yeah.
But for my 3 keys, my first one was to contain the quarterback. Josh Allen obviously has proven that he is a scrambling quarterback, and the Patriots have struggled throughout times in the past having to deal with that. Do I have I'm chilling.
I have good explanations, I promise.
Oh no, I love him. But Yeah, contain the quarterback. If there's any year that we wouldn't be suited to do something like that, it's this year because our defense is completely depleted. But yeah, that's kind of my thing. Defend the quarterback. Josh Allen's gonna run all over us, debatably. Second, run the ball. Last week we saw for the first time our run game kind of come alive. Sure, half of those dynamic plays by our running backs were taken off the board thanks to lines penalties on our offensive line or Hunter Henry, but it was still good to see our running game kind of have a resurgence, although it was against the Raiders. So hand the ball off, even though Stevenson is hurt, he's limited again. Give it to Zeke, let him cook, let him eat, feed him even, and just give him the ball, let him do with it. Because on paper, the Bills' front seven is very good in terms of pass rush, but their run defense hasn't been the most consistent aspect of their offense, or their defense, I should say, over the past couple of years. So capitalize on that, hand the ball off, pray to God. Third, my key is to play Malik Cunningham. This becomes even more prevalent as you've talked about the Bills' front seven, their ability to rush the passer. Mac Jones is going to get obliterated. Of course, I think Mac Jones should start.
Yeah.
He's my guy. Love Mac, but he's going to get killed on Sunday. But put Cunningham in there a couple times. Let him run around the pocket. Let him try and run away from these Bills pass rushers. Maybe we'll be able to make something happen. Maybe something cool will happen and Malik will run it all the way for a touchdown. That would be a nice momentous moment for the very slow season that we've had thus far. But other than that, I mean, my keys are kind of similar to yours, Chandler, which are very, I guess, not hopeful, but go
Yeah.
for it.
So the first one, and I promise there's a good explanation to this, so don't lose. Now, on surface, that just sounds like me talking about the team scoring more points than the other team. That's not exactly what I mean. When I say don't lose, I mean we can't lose the game. They have to beat us. That's a very distinct difference. That is really important. And we have lost games. We have lost every game that we've played thus far. We are not getting beat. I guess, actually, let me rephrase that. After the first two games, we have been losing games, not getting beat. We were beat the first two games. We've lost the other games. We tried to lose that Jets game. We didn't. We tried to, though. So let's not try to lose. Let's try to win. Try to make them beat us. That's a key. No turn. That just encompasses no turnovers. Try your best to keep Mac upright. If Mac stinks, don't be afraid to put in Malik Cunningham. That's the crux of that one. Take some risks. Second, double Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is the only receiver on that team averaging over 100. Gabe Davis is averaging, I believe, 53 yards a game. I don't have it in front of me. But Diggs is their primary receiver, and he is by far their most talented receiver. And we simply don't have the personnel to handle him one-on-one right now unless we're going to see a J.C. Jackson resurgence game. It's actually an interesting, it's a Maryland matchup. Both Stephon Diggs and J.C. Jackson went to University of Maryland, and they have a lot of reps against each other, and they have a lot of history against each other. So I guess if there is any game for J.C. Jackson to come back, it would be this one. I don't have that much faith, though. I think that should be a comfortable double team shadow for the whole game and hope that he doesn't kill us. Speaking of hope, for my third one, and this one isn't a joke, pray. There's only so much that this team can do. And I'm going to expose on that one a little bit. Luck is often better than skill, but you got to be good to get lucky. All we have to do is don't lose the game ourselves and be just good enough to get lucky to win. Because I don't think that we have the talent to win many games this year, especially against a team that I think has a 50% chance, I'll say, of making the AFC Championship. This is still a very good team. We know this is a very good team. We know that Josh Allen's a top quarterback in the league. I won't throw a number on that because I'll get blasted if I say the wrong one. We know that Stephon Diggs is arguably the best receiver in the league. We know that defense is arguably one of the best defenses in the league. A little banged up, but Still doesn't really make a difference when you talk about how banged up we are.
Yep.
Don't lose. Double digs. Pray.
I love it. With that, Chandler, let's move to our predictions. I guess I'll start because one point that I forgot to make before is if a team is looking for a statement win right now, it's the Bills. Coming off of 2 poor performances, one of which was a loss. And the last time the Patriots were faced with a team that needed a statement win, we got obliterated by the Dallas Cowboys.
Them boys, yep.
So with that, my score prediction is not very generous. I said that I'm not picking the Patriots to win another game this year until they prove me wrong and win one. So I'm going to continue that streak. I'm saying 40-10 Buffalo Bills win this game.
Now, Nick, this is the first week that I have a closer score prediction than you do.
I think it might be.
This is I know it's the first time. And actually, I don't know if I am proven wrong, right. But I do. I am fairly certain that is true. It's not much closer. 38-13, Bills win. Patriots descend into the tank, and hopefully Malik Cunningham gets in for the fourth quarter when we realize the game's a blowout. Hopefully, I would like to see him. If he stinks, he stinks. But maybe
give him
he doesn't stink.
Yeah. Give him a chance.
Who knows?
What better team to give him a chance against than the Buffalo Bills? I mean, if he's going to prove himself, do it against one of the best defenses in the league. That's kind of what my mentality is. But
yeah.
Until then, we'll see everybody in our post-game reaction episode. You can expect that next Monday. If you haven't already seen our post-game reaction episode from the Raiders game, go ahead and check that out. It was really it was a fun reaction considering the amount of tomfoolery that happened in that game on the Patriots' behalf.
Fun is a word to describe it, yeah.
It's a questionable word, but still, I guess.
It's fun for y'all.
It's fun for you guys. Yeah. Fun for you guys. Fun for Raiders fans out there, but not for us.
Yeah.
Until then, though, we'll see you next Monday. Hopefully, try your best to enjoy the game this weekend. It's not going to be pleasant, but try your best.
Watch USC Utah this weekend. That's another good game. Caleb Williams. The game's at 8 o'clock on Fox. Watch it.
Yeah, it'll be better than the Pats game, hopefully. But
Definitely.
Until then, alongside Chandler Betts, my name is Nick Antonakis. We'll see you next Monday. Post-game reaction coming at you.